Have you ever found yourself lying in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, completely exhausted, silently begging yourself to go to sleep, while a chaotic loop of anxious thoughts keeps you wide awake? Think about that moment for a second. If you are the one who wants to sleep, who is the one keeping you awake? Who is arguing with whom? We often talk about ourselves as if we are a single, unified entity, but almost everyone has experienced the strange sensation of being locked in a quiet civil war with their own head. You decide you are going to eat healthy, yet your hand reaches into the pantry. You decide to sit down and focus on your work, but 10 seconds later you find yourself opening an app you do not even remember tapping. You decide you are completely over someone, until a random scent or a forgotten song triggers a physical ache in your chest that you never asked to feel. These moments feel confusing because we make one fundamental mistake every single day. We assume that our brain and our mind are the exact same thing. They are not, and understanding the difference between them might be the most liberating realization you will ever have about your own human experience. To put it simply, your brain is an organ. It is roughly 3 pounds of biological tissue composed of nearly 86 billion neurons, firing trillions of electrical and chemical impulses every single second. It is physical hardware. If a neurosurgeon opens your skull, they can touch your brain. They can measure its blood flow, map its electrical frequencies, and observe its metabolic activity. Your mind, on the other hand, cannot be weighed on a scale or touched with a surgical glove. Your mind is the subjective stream of consciousness that is currently hearing these words. It is your awareness, your memories, your values, your imagination, and your personal sense of identity. The brain is the instrument. The mind is the music playing through it. The brain is the physical hardware. The mind is the operating system and the user experiencing the software. When you look at how these two interact, you notice that your brain operates primarily on automated survival scripts written hundreds of thousands of years ago. It does not care about your happiness or your lifelong dreams. Its primary job is to keep you alive and conserve energy. This makes your brain an overprotective, hypervigilant prediction machine. It constantly scans your environment for danger and clings to whatever is familiar, because familiarity represents biological safety. To your primitive brain, standing up to give a speech at work activates the same stress response as facing a physical predator. In the ancestral past, social rejection often meant death, so the brain treats modern social anxiety with ancient severity. When you feel dread before an important opportunity, you are witnessing an ancient survival protocol. Your brain is flooding your bloodstream with adrenaline and generating worst-case scenarios to keep you inside your comfort zone. This is where the mind enters the picture. The mind is the conscious awareness that can observe this biological panic and recognize that it is actually safe. While animals react directly to their environment, human beings possess metacognition, the rare capacity to think about what we are thinking about. Most people spend their lives fused with their brains. When an automated thought appears, like "you aren't good enough," they immediately believe it. They assume that because a thought appeared in their head, it must be the objective truth. Imagine sitting in your car before a high-stakes job interview. Your stomach ties itself into a knot. Your hands feel cold and clammy. Your brain starts generating thoughts like an uncalibrated radio, asking why you agreed to come, or telling you that you aren't qualified. If you identify with your brain, you might interpret these sensations as a personal flaw. You might even drive away, feeling defeated by your own personality. Beneath the surface, your amygdala has recognized an ambiguous social situation. To manage the uncertainty, it triggered a physical stress response and instructed your cortex to rationalize an escape. This is purely mechanical biology. The mind is the silent observer watching this chemical reaction take place. It has the power to recognize that this discomfort is not an identity, it is simply physical data. When you make that distinction, you stop letting the biological reaction dictate your behavior. You are not responsible for the first thought your brain generates, but you are responsible for what your mind decides to do with it. Your brain produces thoughts involuntarily, based on patterns from your past. If you grew up around harsh criticism, your brain built pathways that automatically generate self-criticism to shield you from external judgment. The automated voice in your head is often just a biological echo of that conditioning. This creates a deep internal conflict. Your mind wants connection, but your brain pulls away to avoid the risk or vulnerability. Your mind wants growth, but your brain uses procrastination to avoid uncertainty. You are caught between the higher desires of the mind and the base directives of the brain. Observing this dynamic proves that you are not a helpless prisoner of your biological machinery. While the brain shapes your immediate experience, modern neuroscience shows that your mind can actually reshape your brain. This is self-directed neuroplasticity. Every time you consciously direct your attention or regulate your breathing, you alter the physical pathways within your cerebral cortex. The mind uses the brain to build the brain. What you repeatedly pay attention to physically alters the biological hardware that carries your consciousness. Moving from an unconscious passenger to a conscious pilot begins with cognitive separation. When an overwhelming surge of self-doubt arises, shift your internal language from "I am terrified" to "I notice my brain is generating a fear narrative." Labeling an automated thought as a biological event activates the prefrontal cortex and creates space between the stimulus and your response. This space allows for the sacred pause. When a strong impulse arises, the urge to check your phone or snap at someone, give yourself 5 seconds. Use that time to ask if the action serves the person you are trying to become, or if it is just an automatic reflex of your biology. Finally, there is the deliberate training of your attentional spotlight. Because your brain naturally fixates on potential disasters, you must intentionally direct your focus toward what is working and what you can control. You are training your neural circuits to recognize opportunity instead of just threat. Practicing these shifts transitions you from a passenger of your biology to the pilot of your mind. The next time you are awake in the dark, watching a storm of chaotic thoughts, you do not have to fight it. You do not have to feel ashamed of the noise your brain is making. Your brain is simply an ancient organ trying to survive a complex modern world. You do not have to believe every thought it offers or obey every alarm it sounds. Your brain is the instrument that carries you through the world, but your mind is the artist holding it. When you understand the difference, you stop being a victim of your biology and begin to live as the author of your own life.